Introduce all of us. If you've been to our past ones, I'm Cynthia. Super excited for today. And joining me is Pri and Bridget. Do you both want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Bridget. I'm one of our customer experience managers here at Hive, and I am happy to answer any questions you guys have after this beautiful webinar.
Awesome. I'm Priyanka. I'm the partnership manager at Hive, and also super excited to be here and happy to address any questions as well. Yeah, we really wanted Pri and Bridge to be in this webinar because they'll probably be the people you'll work closely with if you are on Hive right now, or if you're considering Hive as an ecom customer. And they both have such amazing insight just into like the ecom space based on how they interact with customers and even with their agency partners. So I'm really excited to have both of them here. And let's just get into it because, like I said, we do have a lot of stuff. So today we're talking about how to increase email conversions and drive revenue on your online store. I'm such a big email geek, and I know that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is coming up too. So we're going to be sharing a lot of advanced strategies around segmenting and automation and just things that you can do leading up to BFCM. And I hope that you can take things that you learned today and apply them after this webinar. So I can't talk about conversion without talking about customer data. The key to maximizing conversion is leveraging your customer data to build meaningful relationships and retention, right? At the end of the day, your email strategy should be focused on engaging your customers, and that ultimately leads to a better brand experience for them and more sales. And a lot of our customers are actually surprised when we tell them you have all the data that you already need. So we're going to talk about how you can leverage that data to really inform a better email strategy and take it to the next level. And I'm sure as marketers here, we're all familiar with the customer journey, but what I wanted to do was to relate it back to the email lens. So from awareness all the way to retention, you have specific email features and tools that you use along the way to engage customers along this journey, right? All the way from sign-up forms to your automations to how to retain customers and to keep them engaged. And I think it's really cool to think about it through this lens because your buying journey online is the same as if you were in stores. I know that a lot of e-com brands have also switched from brick and mortar to digital. And similar to how when a customer walks into your store and you want to say hi to them and ask them if there's any products that they're interested in, you can do the same thing with email, with welcome automations, with more segmented newsletters. So thinking about your customer journey and your digital like email strategy with your customer journey in mind really just helps you pinpoint areas where you could be doing better, or areas where like you're missing certain strategies. So we're going to talk about all of these different things today, and to also touch on the themes that we'll talk about, we're going to talk about collecting the right data from the start. So asking for the right info during checkout, but specifically upon sign up, and how that makes your life easier as we're talking about segmenting through your entire kind of like buying cycle. We're also going to talk about leveraging the data you already have. So using your spending behavior, past purchase data, browsing behavior, and having that be the foundation of how you segment your campaigns. We're also going to talk about how you can get BI insights from revenue reports. So you can report on your core demographics. You can tell the team how email is doing and use that to infer how you can get future customers, and then also how you use that data to close your sales loop. And then of course, there's some advanced automation tips we want to share, from using conditional splits to using spending behavior to really target your automations. And we all know that bandwidth around email is usually really tight. So there are specific automations that I think every brand should have set up in order to maximize the potential conversion that you can get. I'm sure everyone here has the basic automation set up, so I'm really excited to dive into how to take those to the next level. And then lastly, we can't talk about email strategy without talking about deliverability, where you can have a great email strategy, but if your emails aren't landing in inboxes, how does any of it matter, right? So at the end of the day, good deliverability means more like higher engagement, better opens and clicks. So we'll touch on that at the end. We're going to also have a Q&A with everyone on the team at the end as well. So we'll check the chat for that. So if you have questions throughout, please leave them there, and let's get into it. So back to that customer journey map. The first step is to ask for the right data from the get-go, right? So
when we're looking at this and customers are in that awareness phase, the first touch point that you have through email is when you collect their email. And when you get a more comprehensive customer profile from the start, that's going to help everything else along the way, right? From your automations being more targeted to the newsletters that you send, getting that max engagement that you can. And one of the things that we like to tell all of our customers is it's great if you're collecting first name, last name, birthday, but that's all table stakes. I like to say that that level of personalization is so 2018, where in this day and age, you definitely want to be asking for preferences and interests right from the get-go. This is the sign-up form in the Hive backend. I'm sure if you're on Klaviyo or MailChimp, it looks very similar. So here you can ask for what their preferences are, and that automatically drops your new signups into segments already. So right there, that's helped you streamline your workflow with future like campaigns or automations. So the two examples are fashion and music, but again, it depends on your brand. Let's say you're a fashion brand, you can do menswear, women's wear, even your categories of clothes. Like if they like sweaters more than they like jeans, you know what I mean? Asking for this from the get-go basically lets you offer a more tailored brand experience from the start. At the end of the day, your customers have such crowded inboxes, so how are you going to make your brand stand apart? It's to offer a personalized and targeted experience for them based on what they're interested in, right? So to give a visual example, you guys know I love visuals. Here's skincare brand A. Let's say that they're just collecting email and first and last name. And these two illustrations are examples of their customer cohort. So they have two main demographics, let's say. So on the top is Ian. He's actually the founder of Hive, and he really likes skincare, right? So he signed up for their mailing list. At the bottom, that's me. I'm also interested in skincare too. Like, why not, right? So just having email and first and last name. Yes, you can personalize your emails with that data, but you don't really know what like Ian and I are interested in, like what they want to buy from you. So by simply asking for preferences or interests from the get-go, look at how much more comprehensive your customer profile is. So you know Ian likes men's products. He also wants to hear about hair care and skincare. So all those products should be like in the emails that you send. And then I'm super into clean green beauty. So that's the preference that I list. Just by asking for those interests, you know now, okay, instead of sending the 10 emails that you would typically send a generic subscriber, Ian might only get 7 out of those 10, but because they're all specific to his 3 interests, he'll know, okay, I'm going to open and click all the emails I get from skincare brand A because they're on par with like what I'm interested in. And similarly for me, if I'm interested in clean beauty, I probably won't want to get emails that are your generic products, right? If that's a value that I really have. So instead of those 10 emails, let's say 3 of them are about your clean beauty and skincare lines. And if I get all those 3, they're so on top of like aligned with like what my preferences are. So I'll be engaging and probably buying more. And when you're thinking about that, it's great for your initial opens and clicks, but it's also great for your long-term engagement. If you're sending more targeted emails from the get-go, you're going to get better opens and clicks in the long run. In the beginning, you won't see much of a difference because new signups have expressed interest in your brand, right? So your first few emails will probably be opened and clicked, but when they're not targeted, you'll see that open rate fall. And that's something that we're trying to mitigate by asking for these preferences upfront. So I hope that that makes sense. And here, I also wanted to briefly talk about contests. They're another great way of growing your list in addition to sign-up forms. We've seen a lot of our brands have social media and like Instagram contests specifically, and I think they're a great way of increasing your social media following, right? But the one thing our team always thinks is, why aren't they collecting emails? Email continues to be the highest driver of ROI over any digital platform that you can use. And it's great to get more likes. It's great to grow your Instagram following, but it's even greater and it'll increase your conversion so much more if you also ask for emails. It's so simple to link your contest in your bio and say, okay, here is a, like get 10 additional entries if you give us your email. And the one reason that we do that too is because if you collect those emails after the giveaway is done, you can send a follow-up email to everyone that didn't win the giveaway with a very exclusive or aggressive discount code, because the people that have entered the giveaway, all those entrants, they want your products, but there's a certain barrier to entry that, like whether it's price point or something else, that has caused them not to buy yet. So you know that they've expressed interest, why not hit them with an email that's going to get some of them to convert? I know a lot of the times brands will say, oh, but we don't have like a tool that lets us run a contest that captures this data or tracks these entries. And I want to quickly plug Hive here, where we have that in our features. It's included, there's no additional price or anything. And you can see here that you can set additional contest steps and change the number of entries based on different social platforms. And the other cool thing is all of this is pumped into the CRM in the back end. So the other thing that we've seen is really useful for our customers is on our contact profiles, you can see where a subscriber came in from. So if you have multiple contests throughout the year, you can see specific ones that they came in from, and you can start tracking their behavior once they're captured through that contest. So did they go around and browse the website after? Did they see like other collections? Did they even buy anything after coming in from a contest? And you can start creating segments off of those as well. So if you're running contests, if you're not running contests, you should run contests because they're a great way of growing your list, but you should also run them and ask for email. You can say social followings are like 1 entry and then email is like 15, because I feel like that represents how valuable email is. So I wanted to quickly plug that. And next, I want to talk about leveraging the data you already have. So I briefly mentioned how you can use spending behavior, past purchase data, browsing behavior to send more segmented campaigns. And this helps in both the consideration phase when you're trying to convince people to make that purchase, and also afterwards, right? It's so important to think about customer retention, where once someone buys something, how do you get them to come back and buy more? And you have so much data that you can use to help infer that. And then we're also going to talk about the BI insights that you can get, and then closing your sales loop this way. So when I'm talking about using spending and browsing behavior to improve sales and retention, there's a few key areas that we've seen a lot of success with our customers. The first is using spending behavior to infer future purchases and drive more targeted campaigns that way. And that's for people who have bought something and you want them to buy more. And it also is for potential new customers. The chances are your current customers are probably very similar to who your future customers are going to be, right? So take some time to look at what their characteristics are, because that's going to help you pinpoint and create a strategy that's going to get new customers through the funnel so much faster. So one of the examples that we've seen work really well is you can filter on customers who purchase over X amount and then figure out what characteristics are for that cohort. So a lot of brands will be like, okay, women over the age of 30 actually usually have a cart size of over $200 versus those that are under 30 that usually have a cart size of $100. How can you use that information to market to them better or offer better like discount codes or all of that stuff? Another example is filtering on customers who purchase from certain collections or categories. So in the e-com space, you usually have 2 or 3 different cohorts, right? They're interested in like 2 to 3 unique like offerings that you have from your brand, and understanding like the characteristics of those cohorts is going to help you so much more. And then lastly is if your e-com brand sells something that has a shorter lifespan that's recurring, you can send a recurring email to remind customers to purchase refills, let's say. So I'm talking makeup or even like hair and body care, using that skincare example again. You know that those products run out after 3 or 6 months, and if it's something like foundation or concealer even, it's likely that if your customer liked it, they want to buy it over and over again. So why not set up an email and automation that reminds them, oh, it seems like you'll be running out of this product again soon. Do you want to buy more? That's another way of driving conversion and also improving retention. Next is using purchase data and web behavior to recommend products and offer rewards. These are also great ways of driving more purchases. When I'm talking about recommending products, you definitely want to have the recommended product block in your automations too. Basically, when someone's added a product or viewed a product in a certain collection, chances are they probably buy other products as well. So something that we've seen also work well is if you have the recommended products block and then offer, let's say, a code for 10% off if you have an order size that's higher than the average order size. So to get them to buy 2 or 3 items instead of 1 item, you can recommend similar products and then say, oh, here's 10% off a $150 order, versus having them reminded to just complete a $100 order. That's a really great way of bumping that up. And lastly is leveraging past purchase data and browsing behavior to target your automation. So using conditional splits, this is going to help you target higher value carts and get them to get a higher chance of converting them. I'm going to talk about this more in detail in a further slide, but those are just examples of how you can use that behavior to improve your sales. So here I wanted to share some of the examples of filters that you can use. So these are filters in the Hive like CRM backend. Usually what people do is it depends on your business, right? And what your KPIs are. But let's say you want to use purchase data. So you have your global list, your master list in Hive, or I'm sure in whatever ESP you're on, and you can click and filter on anyone who's purchased a specific item, or purchase an item with a specific tag if you use tags in the Shopify backend. Something else that we've seen work well is filtering for those who purchased an item in the last X days. So if you have a really large campaign where, let's say you partnered with someone or you had a specific influencer or celebrity or something, if you use when that campaign started and see who bought in that time period, you can infer, oh, this customer might have an affinity to this influencer, or what this campaign was about. And that's another way of segmenting. And then an example of browsing behavior, when I talk about that, we expose all the web pages that your customers view. So if you have your Shopify account connected, or if you have the Hive SDK on your site, I'm sure this is similar with Klaviyo or MailChimp, you can filter on and look at the data of who's browsed what site and also create segments off of it. So one of the I think easiest examples and examples I like to use is, let's say you're in fashion and you have a web page about sustainability. Sometimes people will go to your site and they might read that page without really browsing or adding products to your cart. So you can create a segment for everybody who's viewed your sustainability page. And if you have a conscious collection, let's say, you can send them an email with that conscious collection, and they value sustainability. So there's a higher chance that they'll engage with the email and potentially lead to more conversion. So that's one of the ways that you can use this filter. Again, there's so many options, everything under the moon for creating or choosing which filters make sense for your brand, but it's all based on the characteristics of your customers, right? And then the other part of leveraging your data is using your revenue reports as a BI tool to provide insight to your team and to figure out more about understand your customers better, let's say. So you can leverage the filters and the CRM features to understand, let's say, your core demographic buying specific products. So when you're doing market research, you might think, oh, one of product A might, the buyers are women under 18, or no, that's really young. Women under 25, let's say, they really like product A, but when you're filtering on your purchase data, you might find it's actually women over 30 who are the main buyers of product A. So that's going to help inform how you're going to market to these people better. So that's one that we've seen work really well. And then another one is when customers are purchasing. So an example is if they're purchasing in the initial product launch, so when you announce your new arrivals, or if they're purchasing in the sales season. This helps because I know that one of the metrics for a lot of e-com brands is trying to push product and push inventory in the earlier in the season versus having a lot left over that has to be discounted. So if you're looking at this filter, you can see what are the types of people that always buy in the sales season, and how do we offer incentives to get them to buy a little bit earlier on versus waiting. So figuring out when customers are purchasing will help you identify what the obstacles are in their buying journey, right? And this also looks different for the different customer cohorts you'd have for whatever types of products. And then the other part is reporting on revenue attributed to specific tools that you've invested bandwidth in. I feel like in marketing, you want to show how your hard work has paid off. And this is one that I think our customers really love. So you can report on revenue from automations or contests that you run, even specific sign-up forms where you could have a sign-up form on your website, but you might find that you get higher conversion from a sign-up form you have on a partners page or something. And that can show that you might want to invest more time in that partnership or have more product lines with them, something like that. So these are just really high-level examples of how you can use your revenue reports as a BI tool. And then on to our automation tips. We love automations. I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you why they're so important. Yes, Bridget agrees. But you can see here that they help you engage customers at every single step of your customer journey, right? From welcome to new customer thank you to win back. Similar to that analogy I used of how your digital experience on your e-com store, your online store, should be the same as the experience you want to offer in a physical store, right? And I think it's so important to have these set up not only for engaging your customers well, because again, they're triggered off of unique customer actions. So you're sending exactly the right email at exactly the right time. It also helps with deliverability, which I'll touch on later. But I'm sure you know all the basics. So we're going to share more about using conditional splits, how to use spending behavior to take them to the next level. But actually, I think I have facts. Yes. Automations refresher, because it just feels good to know that you have these set up and how powerful they are. Welcome emails get 3 times more opens, clicks, and revenue per email compared to any other regular promotional email campaign. And 74% of consumers expect a welcome email, right? And let's say you're walking into a store. Wouldn't it be weird if no one welcomed you? Like, you just expressed interest, everyone's ignoring you. So that's why you should have a welcome email set up. People are also like, they've just expressed interest in hearing from you. So it's a great time to get like an email in front of them because they're guaranteed to open. And then with abandoned carts, up to 70% of people who start a checkout don't complete their purchase. That's a lot of potential revenue left on the table. And they have a really high conversion rate of 10%. So if you think of all of those carts that were abandoned, 10% of that is a big chunk of money. So you definitely want to have this automation set up. And then related to abandoned carts are browse abandonment emails. They actually have a higher conversion rate of 12%. So every 1,000 visitors that leaves your online store without adding anything to their cart, you could be making an additional 120 sales. That's a lot. And especially in the BFCM season, if you're driving so much traffic to your site, this is definitely one that you want to have set up as well. And then I want to briefly mention how you can engage repeat customers or encourage retention. One of the automations that we always encourage our customers to set up is a new customer thank you. A lot of brands won't have one set up because they're like, oh, it conflicts with our transactional emails. They're going to get their receipts and order confirmations. But new customer thank yous, I think, are really meaningful because you're showing appreciation, especially if it's their first order. And they're usually branded better because they're like a marketing email versus a transactional email. And with 40% of your e-commerce store's revenue created by only 8% of its customers, I feel like that 8%, you definitely want to keep them engaged and show them how much you appreciate them. And then we'll also talk more about how to retain these customers with different automations later on. But I think it's so important to have that. So when we get to the advanced automation tips, the first one I already mentioned, but have a new customer thank you automation. We've seen it convert so much more. And the next is using your welcome automation engagement to segment on customers' interests. So in the beginning of the webinar, we talked about how it's so important to collect the right data from the get-go. This is another opportunity to do that, where you might not want to ask for interest in your sign-up forms. And the welcome automation, because it's in front of everyone's eyes, everyone opens it, you can design your email in a way where most brands will have their main collections or their top sellers in sections of the email. So you can create segments based on people who click those different sections, because it does translate into what they're interested in, right? So that's another way of using your welcome automation to grab more customer data and have more segmented campaigns. The next I also mentioned briefly earlier, but recommending products in your abandoned cart and browse abandonment automations, we want to focus on increasing your average order value, your average cart size, where let's say they viewed and added like one item into their cart. If you recommend products in the same collection, let's say, or the same style, it's the chances of having them add more items or buy more is higher, especially if you get a bit more strategic with the promo codes that you offer. So it's a great way of trying to increase your average order size. And then last but not least is leveraging conditional splits in your automations to target customers better, which I have an example of later on. But let's say you have your basic automation set up, you can still take them one level further and create more targeted flows, especially when it comes to purchase data. So one of the main conditionals that we use is cart value. So you want to spend a bit more time or offer more incentives for higher value cart sizes. So having a conditional in those flows helps you do that. So here's an example. On the left is a new customer thank you from our brand Typical. They opted to just show their appreciation and ask for feedback. And that is already a great way of showing that you care without having to offer any additional monetary incentives, right? And they asked their customers to simply respond to the email. That's also a great way of encouraging more engagement, where respond to an email ranks as a better type of engagement than a simple open or click. So when we talk about deliverability later, anywhere where you can engage your customers and ask for a response is a good idea. Sometimes we see customers offer a thank you. Here is a code for your next purchase as a token of appreciation, and that's also worked well, again, to get them to come back. And on the right is an example of a browse abandonment with recommended products in it. Here, they recommend products from their new collection, but it's just a visual example to show that if you expose a collection with products that they've shown an affinity to, or like collections that they've shown an affinity to, you increase the chances that they're going to buy more. And then back to my splits in an abandoned cart example. Here is our abandoned cart flow in Hive. And you can see that the conditional is cart size. So whether you have a cart size over $100 or not, and you can see that by doing it this way, you can increase the chances of converting higher value carts by offering discounts. So let's say your customer has abandoned a cart of over $100, they'll get a 15% off. And if they don't complete the purchase, after a day, they'll get 20% off. And then when I use that example in the past of trying to increase your average order size, let's say that in this flow for cart sizes under $100, instead of a simple you forgot something reminder, you can have that recommended products block, or simply just offer that discount of, 10% off orders of $150. That is a really easy way to try to increase your average order size across your list. So I hope that makes sense. And to quickly plug Hive too, this is one of our default journeys. So I'm going to talk about this a bit more later, but we try to make it so easy for you. All the logic is baked in, and it's so easy to set up. And then I wanted to quickly share a customer success story too, just because we're really proud of this customer. And customer A, who I can't name right now, but they used automations to help get themselves out of months of stagnant sales. So they were feeling a bit of a rut where they didn't see growth in their sales. So customer A had a goal of increasing revenue as their sales had been consistent over several months without growth. And their account rep from our CX team noticed that they only had a welcome automation set up. So she recommended a simple cart and browse abandonment email. And this customer specifically, they always said, we don't have bandwidth to take on more automations. Like, it seems like so much work to set up. And we had just shipped our pre-built automations at that point. And that account rep was like, I promise you, it'll be like 5 minutes of your time. So it literally took them 10 minutes. They just went in and added their logo and their colors and the font. And they generated over $5,000 in their first month just by having those two set up. So it goes to show those two automations are so powerful, but also I know the obstacle is usually, it just takes so much time. So leverage like pre-built automations. I'm sure other ESPs have them too, because it's so much better to have them up than try to perfect your design or anything and lose that money. So I just wanted to share that. And when I'm talking about pre-built automations, just to give a quick visual, we noticed that was a trend with our customers, right? They always were like, it's so much bandwidth. What about the logic or something? So we shipped these pre-built journeys, and you can see we have the welcome, new customer thank you, simple advanced abandoned cart, win back, everything that, like all the basics that you would need. And if you click simple abandoned cart, let's say, this is what it looks like, where all of the logic is applied. So you don't have to worry about figuring out like what filters you need. And then if you want to make them more advanced, you can add these additional rules if there's like a specific order value or specific collections. And then really all you need to do to customize it for your brand is to go in and edit the template. So just goes to show that it does take a bit of work, but the beauty of automations too is when you set them up, it takes a bit of time in the beginning, but you can set it and forget it, right? So over a few weeks, it'll start to generate revenue that you'd otherwise lose, and you can revisit it later on when you have more bandwidth too. So definitely have them set up. And then I just want to mention a quick template checklist, because I feel like it's often overlooked, or people forget like what good emails look like, you know what I mean? So the first is personalization. You want to make sure that you're merging in first names or preferences, like wherever you can, to make sure it feels one-to-one. Recommended products I've already talked about, and then offering birthday coupons. So if you're collecting birthdays, that's such a great way to keep customers engaged with your brand, is celebrating their birthday with them by sending them an email. It's an automation with a coupon on their birthday. The next one is having a clear CTA above the fold. I know it seems so basic, but I think as you're getting more into design and you want to make sure your emails are look really visually pleasing, it's usually image and then the button gets pushed below. But I want to stress that it's so important to try to keep your CTA above the fold, because it does translate to higher conversion, even though sometimes I know it looks a little bit awkward, just like visually. And then next is social icons. You want to make sure that you have them in your emails and that they're the right links, where it's a great way. Everyone's on Instagram these days, right? They're on their phones because everyone's at home. So this is a great way of just keeping them connected with your brand. It's all part of the brand experience, and it's great to have that aligned when you're doing your email. And then lastly is quality over quantity. Long emails aren't better. If you have a segmented and targeted strategy, your email shouldn't be that long anyway, right? Because you're nailing like what they're interested in. But we often find that we need to remind our customers. So I thought it'd be nice to include here, where you want to make sure your emails are concise, straight to the point, and targeted to what their preferences are. This is also going to help you, one, not be clipped depending on what provider they use, if they're on Gmail or something, because that's just a bad brand experience. And then two, long emails are often like marked as spammy behavior by ISPs. Like you might not see it on your end, but over time, if you continue to have multiple images, multiple links, it looks like spammy behavior, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. So just wanted to have some quick reminders. And if it's been a while since you looked at your templates, it's a great time to spend time like revamping, refreshing them before BFCM and the holidays. And then last but not least is deliverability, landing in customers' inboxes. And deliverability, I know, might feel very overwhelming or complex, but it's really simple at the end of the day, where you should care about deliverability because you should care about landing in your customers' inboxes, right? It directly translates to higher opens and clicks. And you can see along this customer journey that it affects every single thing once you collect someone's email, because it is landing in their inboxes. So let's dive into that a bit more. Because of time, and I don't want this to become a very long webinar, we have a recording of a deliverability webinar that I ran a few weeks ago, and I highly recommend checking it out if you want to just brush up on the basics or even learn about the technical side of deliverability. I explained everything that you need to know there, and we have specific strategies in that webinar too, what you can do. But just a simple checklist. If you're doing all of these things, I don't think you need to worry, because at the end of the day, if your email strategy is centered around your customers and engagement, you should be getting pretty good inbox placement. So the first checklist or first checkbox is if you're maintaining a clean list, right? And in brackets, I have engagement segments. So this means two things. One is if your ESP doesn't automatically prune your list for you, it's definitely something that you want to do at least on a monthly basis. You want to be going in and removing or marking as unsubbed or something, like all of your unsubscribes, all of your spam complained, bounced, all of those people that you don't want to be emailing because it's just bad for your reputation. Hive automatically does that for you though, quick plug. And second is when we're talking about engagement segments, you also want to be segmenting your entire list based on their engagement. So this is also something that we automatically do, but it's something you'd want to manually continue to update in segments if you're on another ESP. And I'm talking about grouping your active subscribers, new subscribers, inactive subscribers. The main reason is because you don't want to be emailing subscribers who haven't engaged in a while and don't show any signs of engaging. That's going to damage your deliverability, not just for those who haven't engaged, but for everyone across your list. And that basically means someone who would buy from you might get your email in their spam folder because you're not like keeping up with this cleanup. So that's, I think, something really important to do. And that kind of links to the next checkbox, which is having your welcome and win back automation set up to properly engage your new and inactive subscribers. So a little bit more about deliverability. It's basically your sender reputation with subscribers. So every time you have a new sign up, ISPs like Gmail, Yahoo, they're basically looking at, oh, does this person want to hear from you? And the more they engage with your emails, the more they trust you as a sender, so they continue to place your emails in inbox. And the opposite of that is if you send them emails that they don't engage with and you continue to do that, the ISPs or Gmail will be like, oh, it doesn't seem like they want to open your emails. That's when you start hitting spam. So if you're engaging them properly, both right when they sign up with a welcome, it's good engagement right off the bat. And then when they stop engaging, let's say, you need to strategically set up automations with either aggressive discount codes or something really exclusive to get them to come back, because chances are your normal sends aren't engaging, right? So that's why both welcome and win back automations are so important for deliverability. And the next is having subdomains. I'm sure all of you have at least one for marketing and one for transactional. If not, definitely ask us about it, no matter what ESP you're on. But I think it's so important. It helps you mitigate risk off of your main domain. Some brands, depending on how much you send, you might have multiple subdomains under just marketing. So for different types of campaigns, or even for different segments in your list. There, again, depends on your business, but it's good to have at least one set up for marketing and one set up for transactional. And lastly, just continue to send consistently good emails and targeted email campaigns, because that's something that ISPs are looking for, right? So if you want to learn more about that, watch that recording of the deliverability webinar. But at the end of the day, good deliverability is simple. It's based on sending good emails that people are engaging with, and not sending emails to your subscribers who won't engage. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is what I mean by segmenting by engagement levels and keeping your list clean. So here is the logic that we use in Hive. This is baked into our email sending flow, but it's something that you can probably create in other ESPs too, just like layering on a segment before you send. So you can have all of your other filters and like segments selected when you send an email, but this is on top of that. And it's important because, again, for deliverability, for inbox placement, and you can see that the like estimated open rate, it'll go up or down when you unselect at risk and inactive. We recommend only sending to your active and new subscribers, right? Because these are the segments, these are the subscribers that you know will probably engage with your emails. At risk and inactive subscribers haven't shown any signs of engaging. They probably won't engage. So you want a specific strategy, specific automation, specific campaigns to re-engage them. Continuing to email these subscribers is going to affect your inbox placement, not just for them, but for your bread and butter, your like active and your new subscribers. And then in terms of the traditional meaning of cleaning your list, having your unsubscribed invalid email spam complaint removed. Again, something we automatically do because we know it's bad for you to email them, so we won't let you do it. So just wanted to plug that there really quickly. And then my last Hive customer success story, we just love our customers so much and we're so proud of them. So for this one, you've heard me say a customer-centric strategy leads to good deliverability, but so does a support team that cares. We have so many customers that switch to us from ESPs that I won't name because they don't care about helping them improve their deliverability, right? So that's basically what happened here, where customer B was getting reports that their emails were hitting spam, and their previous ESP support team put them on a new sending IP instead of teaching them good deliverability best practices. So instead of helping them solve what was causing them to land in spam, they just tried a really temporary solution and it resulted in the same problem, right? So when they switched to Hive, customer B was guided through best practices by their account rep. So they were ramped up into a new subdomain. There was a whole warm-up plan. We helped clean up their templates to have fewer links and images because we know that replicates spammy behavior. And they also started segmenting campaigns based on engagement levels. So that last slide that I shared, they started sending to their actives and their news, and then they left their inactives for their win-back automation. And you can see that they started hitting inboxes consistently, and their average open rates actually increased by 20% within 6 months, which is crazy. I'm getting too excited. But I think that's a huge deal. 6 months sometimes feels like a long time, but when we're talking about switching to an USP, that means you're basically resetting, getting ISPs to trust you, right? Because you're sending off of new IPs, new subdomains. And if you're ramping properly into your subdomains, that takes some time too. So seeing this much success and improvement over 6 months is amazing, because it's going to consistently stay at that higher average open rate in the long term. And when we're talking deliverability, you can't expect immediate results. So we're really excited about that. That's why I wanted to share that. And I can't mention our email marketing success team without mentioning how much they help with everything. I know this is a big plug, but that's why, I don't know, we care so much about our customers. And if you're ever curious about what we offer, you get onboarding support, deliverability support, account management, and we just genuinely care about helping you achieve your email goals. And I feel like that's not something that you get at other ESPs. So I just wanted to mention it. And that's basically it for today's webinar. We kind of went through the entire customer journey and specific things that you can do to help target your strategy better throughout. And I hope that this makes sense, both like from awareness all the way to retention, all of the key pieces in your email strategy and like what role they play, and then how you can use your data to take them to the next level too. And I know that, again, with BFCM coming up, I feel like a lot of these things are good takeaways, so I hope that you found this helpful. And I'm going to pass it over to Pri, because we have a really exciting offer to share, and then we'll have our Q&A at the end. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. That was awesome, Cynthia. Yeah, I really enjoyed like the customer journey framework. I think that's super helpful, especially starting off. It's like you don't know where to focus on, and it helps you figure out, do you want to start more in the beginning of the funnel or the end of the funnel? So I think that's a really great framework to start off with. But to end off our webinar, we do have a BFCM and Christmas email strategy package that we're announcing today. And so this is open to anyone, regardless of what email platform you're on. We really want to chat with you just to figure out a lot of the strategies that Cynthia chatted about, how we could help implement that on your store and drive some revenue, especially during this busy time of the year. And so we have a 1-hour email strategy session that's available for free for the end of the year. Bridget would hop onto a call with you and help discuss different areas. If it is something that you guys are in the process of potentially looking at a different platform, we do have a trial period that you could contact us to help set you up with. And then anyone who did join this webinar, we are offering a free month as well. That's expiring on March 31st. So at the end of the day, we just want to have a conversation, help you brainstorm what's the best ideas to help drive some revenue on your store and make sure you're set up for BFCM and Christmas. And so now we are going to open up for some Q&A to see if there's any questions.
Okay, I'll go in and I'll open the chat and see if anyone has questions. I know that both of you have talked to a lot of our like agency partners and customers too. Have you seen anything that's been on the top of mind of our current customers? Like, what have they been asking?
I would say like right now, especially with like BFCM and Christmas, and a lot of people are expecting huge amount of traffic coming to their store. One thing I know that a lot of merchants maybe like watching this would probably think, what are some one or two things they could do right now in the short term, the next 1 or 2 months that would bring the most amount of ROI, especially during this time with like Christmas and Black Friday coming up?
That's a good question. I feel like it depends on what they have set up, where I'd say instead of focusing on what's going to help drive more conversion, it's doing some homework now to make sure things are set up for success through BFCM, where if you don't have, let's say, engagement segments in the ESP you're using, definitely start to bucket your list based on engagement, because it's going to help improve your deliverability. And I'd say the other one is having the right data coming in that you care about, like kind of figuring out what your goals are going into BFCM, and then being able to track that so that at the end of that period, at the end of your holiday season, even going into Q1 of next year, you'll know, okay, let's say you wanted to increase your average order size. Like what types of things helped you achieve that? Was it certain coupon codes or promos? Or even figuring out, how do we push this product more to people in this demographic, let's say. So using your data to do that better, I feel like that's really helpful. But I do think at the end of the day, it depends on what you have set up. I'd say main takeaways are have your engagement segments and have your automations. I feel like those are so key. If you have your basic automation set up, consider having like conditionals with cart size as one of them. I think it's such a great way of increasing your chances of converting higher value carts, because if conversion's your key metric, why not? So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I feel like those are just the basics, where if you have those, like money will come so easy.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of like preparing for New Year and having it set up right for not only this like Q4, but also in the new year. It's like you now know what promotions or discounts or campaigns work really well and help you plan it better. So I think having the data not only helps in the next coming months, but just like long term, you're just be able to make the right best decisions.
Yeah. Ooh, and then if you don't have a win back automation set up right now, I'm sure a lot of brands will go into BFCM being like, okay, let's email everybody because we want to just like generate revenue from our emails. But I would say have a win back automation set up. Try to re-engage people who've fallen off, right? Those inactive subscribers, because you probably can, and it's better to re-engage them now than in the midst of BFCM. So by doing that, once you're sending that BFCM content, those campaigns, you technically should only be sending them to your active and your new subscribers, right? So that'll help you, again, just guarantee better inbox placement when that comes, because it is around the corner, if you do some of that work now and see who you can re-engage.
Yeah,
Sweet.
definitely.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I guess we'll end it off here. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I hope that this was helpful. Again, reach out to us because we have this wicked offer, and if you just want to chat about your strategy too, we genuinely care about helping people use email better because it's so powerful. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out and email either Pri or CX at hello@hive. And thanks again for watching. Hope you're all doing well, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Cynthia.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.